Hi there, Sandra here, and welcome back to my channel and to another video. I'm very excited to share with you some of the illustrations I made during February for a Camellia exhibition, and this is the first of 4 illustrations I made, and I'm going to share them all in separate 4 videos, so you can expect more videos coming in the following days. But there is quite a long and quite sad story behind this exhibition. Things didn't go as planned, and I'm going to talk about it during this video and about the painting process of these illustrations as well. But let's start from the beginning. I had the opportunity to make 4 illustrations for an exhibition about camellia flowers, and this exhibition takes place each year toward the end of March in Locarno, a city in the Italian part of Switzerland. And in case you are new to my channel, I'm from Switzerland. This exhibition is quite known in Switzerland, and each year it has a different theme, but there are always different species of camellia flowers in display. Back in 2012, if I remember right, I actually participated to this exhibition for the first time. When I was in high school, our class had to create a design with camellia flowers for a scarf, where afterward we printed our design on silk scarves and they were displayed for the exhibition. It was a really exciting opportunity and an amazing project to work for us, since it was the first time ever our school had this opportunity to collaborate with this exhibition. So I was very lucky that it was my class and no others. And since then, long story short, after I graduated from high school, I went to England to improve my English and do an internship, and then I attended an illustration school for 3 years. So back in 2018, I asked if they were interested in a collaboration and make an exhibition displaying botanical camellia paintings for the 2019 exhibition, because it would have been a dream for me to participate again, but this time being a freelance artist with my own works, and this would be such an amazing opportunity and experience for me. They were very interested in my works, but unfortunately during 2019 there wasn't a proper space to display paintings, because this exhibition usually takes in a park and sometimes in the city center, but like the first time I participated, it was at the park, but they also had a closed space, like a big gazebo with walls, so it was suitable for displaying paintings and other types of art creations, because having an exhibition outside without protection, the painting might get damaged by humidity and the weather, so it's not really the best. So again, last year I asked if for 2020 there was the chance to display paintings. At first they told me it was only outside again, so I was planning to ask again for the following year, because it didn't matter to me when, but I really hoped I could participate. They have different artists each year that participate, that make different artworks for this exhibition. So it would have been amazing if I could be part of it for 1 year. Since I love flowers so much and I describe myself as a kind of botanical artist, painting flora and fauna is what I enjoy painting the most, and it's also the field I'm specialized in. This exhibition is perfect for me. That is also in my local area. Then early this year, I got an email where it turned out they had a closed space and they asked me if I was still interested, and I was like, oh my god, yes! I was so excited I could collaborate with them. But before we get too excited, now it comes the sad part, kind of sad part. Unfortunately, the exhibition got cancelled because of the virus COVID-19 going on at the moment. So it also arrived in my country toward the end of February, where we had the first case, although I consider myself very lucky to live in Switzerland, because our government really do its best and take fast actions to contain the virus as much as possible, but unfortunately that meant they cancelled all the events in all territory. But I'm not going to talk about this virus any longer. You know what's going on, and I don't want the comment section below be about this virus. But the main thing is that I had many plans for March and they all cancelled because of the virus. Each year in my hometown, it takes place a market for 3 days that I've been participating from for years, but it got cancelled. And then from a couple of years, I hold afternoon classes at the elementary school in my town with creative laboratories and creative projects to do with kids. For March and April, I was planning to have some afternoon classes, but they got cancelled for this season at least. Hopefully for this coming autumn, I will be able to hold some courses. So unfortunately, it's just how it is, and you know, better be safe than sorry. It's a shame that most of my plans got cancelled, and I was very looking forward to them, but it's okay. It just means I will focus my time on other projects. And I was kind of expecting this news since the first case arrived in my country, so I'm not too surprised. You know, sometimes unexpected things out of our control occurs where things don't go in the way we planned, so you just have to accept it and move on. Because honestly, it's not the end of the world. There is much more worst that could happen, and I'm sure other opportunities will come. So it's okay. I still get the chance to share with you these illustrations I made. And actually the plan for this exhibition is to display what we made this year for 2021, so just to postpone it for next year in hopes that everything goes as planned. Nothing is sure yet, but there is still hope, especially because there were other artists, including me, that collaborated for this exhibition, so it's not only me, but everyone who was working to prepare this exhibition was affected by this. So I really hope we all get the opportunity to show our works next year. And you know, from a positive side, everything is already ready for next year, so I don't have to do anything next year. So yeah, back to this illustration. I had to make 4 illustrations, and this year's theme was Fantastic Park, which fantastic you could also interpret it as fantasy, but either way, I spent about 2 full weeks making these illustrations from start to finish. For the first week, I sketched some idea and composition for these illustrations, and then the next week I painted them. And I have to say that I really like working on illustrations on a based theme, sometimes because it can really be inspiring to make something different from what you usually make. It can be challenging but also very creative at the same time. My art style was fine, so I didn't have to change my style for making these illustrations, but I had to adapt this theme to my style, if that makes sense. So create something realistic like I usually do, but that still had a feeling of fantastic. I got a few ideas which you will see the 3 other illustrations in the coming videos, but one of my main ideas was to include bugs with flowers and make this series of Camellia's illustrations more fantastic by changing the colors of the flowers, leaves or bugs or both to convey a feeling of a fantastic surrounding. I wasn't planning to add bugs in all 4 illustrations. I wanted them to differentiate from one to another, for not them being too repetitive with both the subject and image composition, but having a cohesive series at the same time. Initially, I wasn't going to add bugs in this piece, but just use a different color for the leaves. The name of the camellia I used for these illustrations is called General Coletti, which is a red and white camellia. And to convey the feeling of fantastic, I thought that painting the leaves purple, it would look nice with this camellia. At the beginning, I sketched a composition with butterflies because I wanted to include them in one of the 4 illustrations I had to make, but it just didn't work out and I scrapped the idea and that composition, but I knew I was going to add something more in this illustration to connect to the others, and I was planning to make the final changes and additions after painting all the 4 illustrations first. And at the end I was able to add the butterflies in this piece by painting the wings like the camellia's flowers, and I'm very pleased that it really worked well for this piece. So for the added butterfly on top left, it was no problem, but I wanted to add at least one more butterfly, and luckily I was able to add one on the bottom right corner without problems, despite I already painted that area where the butterfly was going to be. But I was able to add paint on top by also re-wetting the paint underneath to remove it, so that when I went over with white and rose paint, the color wouldn't mix all together, because thankfully I work with gouache, and although it's a water-based medium that can be reactivated, I'm still able to go back to a finished painting and make these changes, and it worked pretty well. And then for the painting process itself, I first lay it down a first thin wash of the petals like I usually do. I always work from thin to thick application to slowly build up my value and before making bold choices. So in this case I ended up covering more areas with red and white to make it look like the actual flower I was painting. As first piece, I was testing the ground while I was painting, because I also wasn't sure which color to paint the veins of the petals, so I was a bit uncertain how to approach it, but it turned out pretty well. I also added more details on the leaves, which I usually paint them simpler, but I really like these details on the leaves that go well with the flowers, although I didn't like how the first layer of the leaves turned out. So I went over with another layer of paint to cover them, and then I added the dark value, the shadow afterward on the leaf, which it got pretty tricky because I was reactivating the gouache layer underneath since it was pretty thick and opaque, and it was a bit tricky painting the leaves in all 4 illustrations, by the way. But I worked around the problem and I managed to paint them without much struggle. I also don't usually work with purple colors because it's my least favorite color for different reasons, but I have to say that I got to appreciate purple more after these illustrations, and I hope to love it and use it more from now on for my future works. And the last thing, the final illustration has red sparkles, which I added them digitally, and next video I will explain in details why I added sparkles in the illustration. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm not sure if I'm going to share the sketching and creative process of these illustrations I made. Actually, I was planning to upload a vlog video, and I filmed for 2 weeks during February of the days where I was working on these illustrations, where I also showed the creative process, and I was planning to show the exhibition as well when it was going to take place, but I guess the vlog just went into the bin because the exhibition is not happening right now. But let me know if you would be interested to see a separate video about the creative process of these illustrations, and I might make a new video about it. But I was also thinking in these days, now that I'm on topic and I'm sharing quite a bit of my personal things in this video, I have the idea of opening a Patreon page at some point. For this year I would like to try new things, and I would love to connect with you more, and Patreon would be the perfect platform for me to share with you exclusive stuff that I don't share anywhere else, like my creative process of my illustrations, my sketches, and the full and real-time YouTube videos of my painting process, and make blog posts to share things and talk to you on a more personal way. So the idea would be to share the creative process of the illustrations on Patreon, maybe. But I'm still thinking about it because I have no idea how many people would be interested on following me and support me on Patreon. So let me know what you think about it. And I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video of the second Camellia illustration. Bye!